Thanks for joining us for another episode of Love, Marriage, and Everything in Between Countertop Talk. This is Chef Shan.
I'm Mr. Official, and welcome to episode 34. Thank you for everybody that has joined the page, shared the page, subscribed. We appreciate you greatly, so thank you. So, I got a slight crook in my neck. So, this week, why are you laughing?
You make me laugh. You're so professional.
You think so? Mm-hmm. Because you said otherwise at times.
I have never said you are not professional.
That's true.
I have never.
Maybe that's my sister.
Yeah.
So this week I'm not going to ask how was your week, because we're going to talk about the holiday.
Right. Okay.
And I know how your holiday was because I was thankful enough to spend it with you, but I want to highlight you because every year we say that we're not cooking and we end up cooking, but the we turns into her. I'll put I feel like the last few years I've cooked a little less than we were younger, but
you have cooked a whole lot less.
A whole lot less.
You remember you said you was gonna cook like 4 dishes.
Man,
that turned into 1 dish.
That goes into what I was going to say. You always, my wife always talks about her love language is to see me and my sons happy. And I tell you, it's a lot of work because we both cook. My wife taught me how to cook at our younger ages, but we both cook very well. However, my wife ends up doing all the cooking. She started Sunday. She started baking her cheesecake, her sweet potato pies, and I just marvel at you all the time because no matter what's going on, how busy the schedule is, you always find a way to make sure your family is happy. So the spread, the crab roll, the gumbo, what fish was that you made?
Snapper.
The snapper. You made the young men, the Cornish hen stuff with cream cheese and spinach, the deviled eggs with the fried shrimp. I mean, you just did your thing, babe. And I so appreciate you. I hate to say it because I'm like, babe, anything I do? You're like, no. And I'm like, all right, cool. But I did say I was gonna cook 4 items and I cooked 1. But the day before Thanksgiving, you poured an all-nighter. You poured an all-nighter. And I know you used to do that when we was younger, but I just want to give you your props because we're wiser now. And you always say, we prefer to eat our own cooking all the time, but you always say, this year, I'm not going to cook. But Christmas, we are definitely going out.
Yeah, so we're going to go out for Christmas, but I enjoy cooking. I love to see y'all enjoy it. Y'all really enjoy my cooking and everything. But I will say this, our youngest son ordered DoorDash
the next day.
The next day.
Yeah, and I had to pull him up. I'm like, bro, that is blasphemy.
Yeah, so me and you and our oldest son, we was killing at Thanksgiving food. We definitely
I think we shut it down Saturday though. Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, but that was a nice little run.
It was.
But the youngest was like, shit,
and he had Popeyes and had the audacity to get your Mac. I said, no, Slim. I said, the day after Thanksgiving DoorDash, that is crazy. Put some respect on your mother name.
But it goes into how things have changed because when we were growing up, you really would eat off of Thanksgiving food for 6 days.
It seemed like 6 or 7 days. It did seem like that.
You were eating it, and then back in the day, you would go over your neighbor house, eat some of their Thanksgiving food. It was just but nowadays, people get tired of that food. So,
yeah, I enjoyed. I mean, I like how you did it because you cooked several meals within a meal. So I didn't even bring up your cornbread stuffing, but the snapper with the cornbread stuffing with the onions and peppers and the Cajun seasoning, the maple sauce, scallops, crab meat. That was a meal.
Yeah, but I had a seafood thing.
Yeah, so then the next day I was able to indulge in a gumbo and some of the other items. And then I think the last day we were just killing the crab roll. Yeah. So that was, it was cool. So I'm very, very thankful for that. So the first thought is kind of related to the holidays. I have 2 stores that I shop at that has lost a customer. And I think this speaks to where we are right now with the economy, because I know it's a big deal to advertise for Black Friday,
Right.
but you know how I'm OCD with my phone. I don't like any notifications. I like them gone. And I had 2 stores that had to, if I'm guesstimating, I think each day they were probably sending me 7 to 8 messages of deals. And I thought it was just like, it was overkill. It was like overkill. Did you experience that with any vendors? I'm not talking about the normal. I'm just talking about overkill.
I wouldn't say overkill. I think it's the normal, but some companies probably they had to turn it up a notch, because everybody is saying, hey, not everybody is saying, but Pastor Jamal Bryan has made his voice known that for Friday, Black Friday, and Cyber Monday, don't buy anything.
Correct.
So a lot of these corporations, they got wind of that, and they're just trying to push, like, you can't beat this deal. And normally for Black Fridays, you would get like a 30% off, 20% off, but I've been seeing 40% off.
I saw
50.
I seen 70% off.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they're trying to, ramp it up. It's fourth quarter. People are getting laid off. Customers need to fix corporations need to fix their bottom line. So they're pushing it out for us to buy. But
it was overkill.
Yeah, I didn't buy anything. Did you buy anything?
No.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah.
No, but it was just overkill, because I found myself swiping away the same. It was just I was waking up to notifications. I was going to sleep to notifications. I was getting notifications in the middle of the day. Notifications were starting like 8 a.m. Central Time. So it was just like too many notifications from the 2 same stores. Like, it was just too frequent. So.
Well, they say 7 times is the lucky number. Somebody gotta see it 7 times before they make a purchase.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But no, I didn't crack. So that was good. So what we got on the docket today, babe? What are we talking about?
Well, you brought up a topic during the week, and I said let's save it for the podcast, where you seen something, I think on YouTube, where the conversation was couples are living divorced, married couples are living divorced.
I did. That is correct.
I thought that would be a good topic for us to kind of dive deep into. I understand that. So another topic that we wanted to talk about too is 97% of households only have $1,000 saved. So I thought that's something that we could talk about as well. So let's dive into the first topic. Okay. Married and living apart, or living single.
Yeah, living divorced.
Oh, married but living like you're divorced?
No, it said divorced but living together. It was something.
Ooh, okay, so they already divorced.
They already divorced.
But still living together. Ooh.
So the article was saying that is basically like a newer trend. Couples are divorced and still maintaining residency together. So when I was speaking to you about it, to me it was like, what does that look like? Because depending on, I guess, how long you've been married, and I understand that people are probably doing it for shelter to save right now, but what was so bad that you wanted to get divorced but still maintain this person as a roommate? Because I just know I can't look at you, walk around the house in certain apparel and say I'm divorced. And 21 years of being together doesn't overwhelm me at some point. So it just seems like that's something that is very, very hard to do.
Yeah, so you're right. So if you're divorced, okay, you meet a guy I'll say, okay, meet a guy. He says that he's divorced, and y'all go out on a date and get to know each other. And he's like, yeah, I'm divorced, but me and my ex-wife, we live together. That would be date over for me.
Really?
Yes, because you can't tell me you're not sleeping. You're not still sleeping with your wife, your ex-wife.
But
sometimes.
obviously, there's couples that's doing it. I mean, we don't know the intimacy percentage, but
yeah, that's hard. You mean to tell me you live with your ex-wife and y'all don't sleep together at all?
So you saying when she make a plate for herself, she cook for the house, she not putting something to the side for you. That's your problem. You feel like he's still going to get husband benefits. Not that you're worried about it, but that person, a woman would assume that a man is still receiving husband benefits living in with their wife. I take it. Is that what you're saying?
I would say a man living with a woman, I think for a woman, that's different. I think a woman can turn things off and be like, okay, this is my ex-husband. We are roommates. Okay. Now, men, on the other hand,
I do agree with you on that.
Yeah, we are roommates, but hey, I may have a little girlfriend outside, but when I come in the house, what's up. A man is still going to always shoot his shot, in my opinion. So I just think that's kind of like dicey to be in that situation. And I understand that some adults may have to be in that situation. It could be for the kids, just to have the kids to have security while you get over this economic stagnation, that everybody's going through. So it's not just people that's living 24K or lower. Everybody is going through challenging times right now because people have bills. Even if you making 200K or more, you have a mortgage payment, you may have student debt, you may be paying for college for your young adult kids. People just have bills, so to make things work, hey, well, let's do this, let's give ourselves a 5-year plan and let's just split the bills down the middle, and that way we can have enough money to save so in 5 years we can go our separate ways.
And you make a good point that I was thinking about, because there are a lot of factors. The toxic side is yes, are you receiving husband benefits?
Right.
But on the realistic side of knowing where we are in today's world right now, you could have individuals that are really looking to regroup, because divorce is a big thing.
Yeah.
And I think what also matters is the age of your children and how much you have tied, because when you're married, you have a lot of affairs together. I mean, you're talking about insurance, health insurance, auto insurance, right? Then you're talking about assets. Then you're talking about properties, if there's properties that need to be divvied up. Then you're talking about the liquidity of yourself. Like there's a lot. So I can see on a mature side, if you have two adults, because in a perfect world, I guess we don't see it as often, or it's not represented as much on TV, but you usually don't see couples divorce and have an amicable relationship.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
If you are like, you know what, our kids are grown, it's not working out, let's save 30 to 40 grand in paying the attorneys. I'll respect your space, you respect my space, let's respect each other and not bring anyone here. I could see that happening if you have to be the right type of individuals.
Well, yeah, I was going to say it had to be for both parties, whereas though both parties agreed to actually move on, But if you still have one person and wanting the relationship and still trying to, get back with that person, it could be dicey, but it's crazy times. But, previously, before we got into all of this economical drama and things like that, you would have people that could go back and live with their family. So that's another component too. The family dynamics is so messed up right now. Nobody can go to their mom's house or go to an uncle's house. You really have to figure things out on your own. It's not that village of community to say, oh, hey, such and such is going through a divorce. They got to get back on their feet. You know, we're going to be there to support them and help them out, because going through a divorce, that's a big deal.
It is.
That's a big deal. And, you know, not only splitting up assets, you got to split up debt too, you know, things that was accumulated during that marriage as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. And I was listening to a show where one of the hosts was talking about how important it is to marry the right person. Right? Now, that's not to say that you marry the right person and things don't occur, but they were also saying the importance of who you're saving your body for, because just like marriage is a big thing, so is having a kid as well. And then when you go into a marriage and you're separating and you're divorcing, then you look at just as important if you're I guess messing with someone sexually and a baby comes out of it, the decision in both should kind of be the same, even though we do it in a reverse fashion. You understand what I'm saying? So a lot of times we'll find ourselves being intimate with someone, you have a child, and that's most of us. There's no judgment in that. But on the flip side, with marriage, people will say, look, you want to make sure you're marrying the right person, but you want to make sure that you're having a child with the right person as well.
Absolutely.
Because it's just as important, but I think we've kind of normalized we talked about this one episode before, like growing up with a single mother in the household, you know, so I say all that to say it, I probably said it the wrong way, but they're weighted very heavily. It's very important. And yeah, try to make sure you're marrying the right person, but also we want to make sure we're having kids with the right person.
Let me ask you this, how do you know if you're marrying the right person? And
that's a good point. I would say you're marrying someone for the right reasons. I think if you are, and again, that's not to say that because you're right. How do you measure the right person? It's not to say that things don't occur, but I think if you're marrying someone because you love them, because you see a future in them, and they have the qualities you feel that best complement you, how they make you feel. I think that's all you can go off of. Of course, we all have preferences.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. For me, I just feel like that's kind of like a tricky question, because you really don't know if you married the right one until you went through something. So if you and your partner went through a lot prior to getting married, you have a lot of data and a lot of historical events to show, hey, I know this person is for me. We've been through X, Y, Z. But if everything is always sunny skies and you know you guys never had any bad times or any storms, how do you know? Because you only know when you go through those bad times.
That goes to a very good discussion too. So my brother Uno, may his soul rest in peace, he used to always say, I did this with you. He said, you always want to look at your wife's mother or older sister to see what she's gonna look like later on down the road. He said, that's why I married your sister. And it takes me to this, because you know how I try to associate basketball with everything. Do you think marriage, a successful marriage, because like you said, how do you know you're marrying the right person? They say to win a championship, it takes skill and a little luck. And we know what a little luck looks like. That means you're avoiding injuries. Your star players aren't getting injured on the team. And because you were one of the lucky teams to not have significant injuries, you have the healthier, better team that wins the championship. I think marriage is the same way. Yeah, I could say, okay, Shannon has all of the qualities, which you do, that I want, right? But it also takes a little luck, and that luck might be family, okay? Families maybe not coexisting as you would like, or somebody, timing, right? Or somebody that's very important to you, one individual that might clash with this person you really love, and it puts you in a situation of like, I can't do this. So I guess my question is, do you think a successful marriage also takes a little luck, even though you might say, I love this person, I see a future with this person makes me feel good?
I would say God, God, just helping you out, because it's just like when we got married, we didn't do premarital counseling or anything like that. We really didn't even know each other when we got married. So I would definitely say, like you said, luck, God,
yeah.
Just a blessing,
Because,
God blessed us.
Yeah, because we got married, I had to count it out after 9 months.
Yeah.
And if one of our sons came to us and was like, yeah, I'm marrying this girl now, boy, we would let them. So so people were doing what they were supposed to, but to me, I feel like, and our book isn't finished, but I do know that God provided for us and gave us grace, because after 9 months, you don't know someone.
No,
but we both felt like we knew, and it has worked, even though it's been a bumpy road at times.
But this is what I knew. I knew that I didn't want nobody else. So I didn't know you was perfect. I didn't know, what the future held. But I knew that I didn't want nobody else. It wasn't like, okay, Dwight don't compare to this person, or, Dwight is cool, but I really like this person more, or anything like that. It was always you. You was just like, all I wanted was you. It was just like no. I'm not saying I was dating somebody else. That's not how. Okay, I just didn't. I'm not saying I was dating anybody else, but what I'm saying is that I knew I didn't want anybody else.
And I think we both shared that. I felt the same way. And it's been like that throughout our life. There's been a lot of little connections, even before we were married. And not knowing.
Let me say this real quick, because how some people say, because we were young, so how some people will say, oh, you're too young, you still have time. Won't you date other people to see? You don't really know if you're gonna like that if you haven't dated, multiple people. So those are the things that people tell you, like, wait, see if this is really what you like. Experience more.
I think that's valid. But at the same time, two things can be right. Because that is if somebody's telling you, you need to date. We were 20, you were 23, I was 24. So if somebody were to say, you need to date a little longer because you haven't been, think about it. We were married in our 20s, the majority of our 20s.
Yeah, but this is the thing for me. I'm just saying, like, if I had a daughter, right? Thankfully, I had 2 boys. But if I had a daughter, I wouldn't tell my daughter if somebody proposed to her, somebody wants to marry her, I wouldn't tell my daughter, hey, won't you date more? Right. I would kind of tell her, like, don't have sex until you know that person. Because it's like the conversation is like, okay, date more. So does dating more means being, not being sexually active? Because it's just like, you don't want to date and have all of these multiple sexual partners. And then when somebody do want to get married to you, will they really want to get married to you knowing that you have been around the block as a female?
Now let's flip that.
Okay.
That same statement somebody made now to one of your sons, do you think is valid? 23, about to get married, would you say date more to see?
Yes, because it's not a double standard. I'm not in the equal opportunity for male and female. It's, male and female, I don't think that they should have the same thing, So yeah, with my boys, if they're trying to get married young, I would tell them to make sure, and to date more. But if I had a daughter, no, I wouldn't tell her that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I would have a different type of conversation, because at the end of the day, and this is just what it is, I know this might piss some people off, but the more mileage a woman has on her,
Not mileage.
the less valuable they are. You know, I mean, it's just what it is. I mean, what do a man?
They'll never look at it through the same lens. A man can sleep with the same amount of women.
Yeah. So if it's a woman that's 40 years old that have had a lot of sexual partners, they're not going to be as desirable as somebody that's 23 that haven't had that many sexual partners. Okay. Whereas though it could be a 40-year-old man, you know, he done had a lot of sexual partners, he still want to be a valuable candidate.
So it's a double standard, is what
I
you're.
always say it's a double standard. It's not equal.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. And I'm just like, as a female, like if my son is marrying somebody that has been around, I would say something.
You would say something. I mean, and that's where I think a little, I'm gonna say not luck, let's say grace is given for successful marriages. Because I don't think us as humans solely have the ability to say, this is what I want, and versus, well, no, some people can say this is what I want versus what I need. But I think a lot of the times we make decisions based on our emotions, how we feel about someone. However, and that's normal, you know, but I do think it takes a little grace in circumstances, because there can be one thing that could throw off a couple that should have been or could have been destined to be together for the rest of their life that can throw it off. And that could be family.
That's
it could be finances. You know, a man could lose his job and go into a slumber and never get on his feet the way he was again. That can cause a family to break up. There's just so many things that has to work, I feel like, in your favor. And that's what grace. Yeah, so it's definitely us that play a part. But I think there's also some grace, because those circumstances can come out of nowhere and it could change the whole trajectory of your marriage.
Yeah. And also I think too, and these are just my opinions, and it's a lot of my opinions really come from how I was raised. I was raised very like traditional with certain things. And I know now like tradition is out the door.
Oh yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
whereas though it's like women is my body, it's my choice. I could have, you know, what they call the hookup culture, and all of this is going on. I'm not from that school. You know, I'm from like the old school, whereas though, you know, you do things in decency and order. I don't think that's cute. And I think that as we see this hookup culture fade away, you're going to have a lot of women that's unwed.
Yeah, and I think also too, it feels like a few years after we got married, it seems like maybe 2 or 3 years. We got married in what, 2004?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it seemed like shortly after that, marriage became like a fad, where I know like a lot of people that I went to school with, I was seeing weddings like that, you know, where I felt like being married, you know, like black love was a thing at one point. It was like, I remember we were still in our 20s and a lot of people were getting married, and I was like, wow. Actually, my homeboy was one of the first people that I know from my crew that got married, and I think he was 21. But him and his wife made it look good, you know. They were like friends. I know them from like when we were younger. They were friends. They got married. They had kids. But you know, they were them. But again, it's like I said, it takes timing. If the timing is off, because a buddy of mine said to me, he was like, you know, in other cultures, they will only marry, and I'm not sure how true this is, but I don't know, one may think it makes sense. He said people will marry based on their zodiac because you're more compatible. And then he said in those same cultures, they will have kids based on the two of their zodiacs, where they will have a kid that complements them or something of that sort. I can't recall exactly what he was saying, but it's totally, you know, I don't think it's a true rhyme or reason. You got to go with your heart. And I know for me, I felt that you were the one when I proposed so quick. I knew, but I was off the porch a little earlier and I wanted to settle down. But I knew that everything that I was looking for, I found in you. And I'm like, all right, I'm not even going to test the waters no more. This is it. So, you know, we're still writing our book. So I'm thankful for that. But to the initial, I know we started with the families that are divorced but still living together. I mean, the underlying issue is that right now we're living in a world that is totally foreign to us.
Yes.
And for those individuals that are going through it, you know, perhaps they'll find love again, you know, through these circumstances, because a marriage is a rebuild. And in essence, if you're living with the person you're divorced with, you guys are kind of rebuilding together. So maybe time goes by and you're like, you know what, the issue's that bad? She's building her thing over here. I'm kind of building my thing over here. We got 10, 15 years invested. Can we make this work?
That's a good point. And also you had the opportunity to see what's out there. You know,
that might humble you.
Yeah, because I have heard stories where it's though people get divorced, be outside a little bit, and then they remarry the person.
You see a lot of that now.
That they divorced.
Because remember, like 2 years ago when we first moved to Houston, it was the big divorce party culture. Women were throwing, I didn't hear of any men, but men were throwing divorce parties.
Women.
Yeah, women were throwing divorce parties. And I thought that was, to me, that was like the most cringiest thing. I just think like, that's just not something to celebrate if you were really in it for the right reason.
I'm right.
You know, so.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen no divorce parties lately.
Yeah, there ain't gonna be no divorce parties in a minute, man. in a minute, prayerfully, we won't see them again. But yeah, right now, people hold on to those coins.
Yeah,
as they should,
and holding on to that marriage too. I mean, it's nothing out here. Yeah.
So before we close, I want to talk about our experience today.
Oh, before we do that, we gotta talk about the second topic.
Okay.
97% of households. So
yeah, remember? I do. So it was an article on CNN. And remember, I told you, I said, babe, that got to be AI. It can't be 90% of Americans have $1,000 or less in their checking account. But you said, babe, when you think about, say what you said.
Shelter. It's shelter. It's food. You know, it's just car insurance have went up.
True.
Home insurance have went up. You know, so things are it's just an increase. Everything is inflated. So your rainy day fund is being used to just help you with the monthly bills.
Right.
Yeah.
Along with credit card.
Yeah.
And credit card debt. And like you said, people getting out second mortgages, HELOCs, you know, so people are in survival mode. And again, I think if they are doing that, that is a blessing, because at least they do have the equity to pull some funds out.
Right.
At least you do have the credit to where you can utilize the credit, and hopefully you can leverage that credit to get back where you need to be. But right now is just the time of being agile. It's being extremely agile, extremely intentional with everything. So I'm hoping those stats turn around, but I mean, that is a big number, 97%. 97% that's a big portion of our country, you know. So help somebody out when you can, you know, if you have the means to do so.
Pay it forward.
Pay it forward. So
what happened?
So today we had our truck inspection for Mabel's food truck, and it's so unfortunate because sometimes all skin folk ain't kinfolk. I'll just say it like that. And we did, I would say this in their defense, we had an appointment for an inspection and we arrived 30 minutes late, which is not like us. So we came into the situation extremely humble, but there was a trailer that turned over and we had to detour. We left out, an hour and a half earlier than our time, just being proactive.
Yeah.
And we got caught up. So as soon as we got there, it was no salutation, it was no greeting. the individual just said, hey, y'all got to get here on time. So for me, I was kind of pushed back because you don't talk to adults like that. You definitely don't speak to another grown man like that, because as a grown man, I kind of know the importance of being on time. And we weren't late and like get to it. We were late and apologetic and say, hey, this is what happened, but what can we do? So that was strike one. And then we had an issue where when you're getting a food truck inspection, they have to check all of your appliances, the gas lines, etc. Everything was fine. The one issue we had before the health portion was passed was that our hot water wasn't getting hot. But in Houston, I think the high today was 49 degrees. And it was like 38 last night. And it's been like that since.
But I wouldn't say it wasn't getting hot. I mean, when we turn it on, it has to heat up. It has to go through the process.
Thank you. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah.
So the gentleman that first greeted us had a sidekick that we call gun line, because it was almost like the movie Life. And he's like, tell him about this gun line here, boss. So he kept going back and forth to the initial guy. He said, you got 5 minutes. I said, well, it's not a lot that we can do because the water has to go through the warmer to warm up. It takes time, and the water's cold. It's been cold. And it came down, I think the gun line came to us maybe 4 or 5 times because we asked could they please service the other vendors and come back to us, because not only do you pay for an inspection, but the inspection location is about an hour and 15 minutes.
15 minutes away.
Yeah, about an hour and 15 minutes away from us. Hour and 10 minutes away from us, and that didn't matter. So it was just a very tedious process, because I feel like sometimes we just need to give each other grace, and understandably so. Being prompt and being on time should be mandatory. I totally get it. But I think we were very humble, and we were saying, look, man, if you could just see everybody else, because we don't know how long it's going to take for the water to warm, instead of failing us, how about going to see everybody else and coming back to us?
Yeah, for me, it was definitely the approach. I mean, we were late.
We were late.
We were late. So, I mean, definitely, I get it. Everybody needs to stick to their schedule, but it's all about how you go through things and how you handle certain situations, and just the aggressiveness. I did not like, because I just feel like sometimes with Black people, you're more aggressive with other Black people, and at the end of the day, we are human. It doesn't take but a second to say hello, hi, okay, or acknowledge. He didn't even acknowledge that. We got caught up in an accident, and thankfully, we got there safely.
Right.
And I just know how I would have handled the situation. If I was in his shoes, I would have been like, okay, I understand that. Well, I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you made it here safely.
Absolutely.
Things like that go a long way. And anytime you go up for an inspection, you always have, I know for me, I don't know about you, but it's always some anxiety I have. Not because, anything wrong doing with us, but you get a different person, and it really depends on that person's mood.
Absolutely.
They don't have a checklist that is standard or universal. It's really that person. The person has to pass you. It's no checklist.
and I think the part that really was the icing on the cake is because the fire marshal comes after the health. Mm-hmm. So I went to the guy and I said, look, man, I'm asking you to be a human. Mm-hmm. I said, we left out in ample time to get here on time. We had no control over the accident. And I understand. And it wasn't even crowded. That's the part that I think really, it wasn't even crowded. But I say, look, if you could please help everybody else, we'll wait. And his thing was, well, we go to lunch at 12. And I said, absolutely, brother. I wouldn't expect you to not go to lunch because we're late. But even if we have to wait, we just have to let the water warm up. And the water had warmed up from 60 degrees to 90 degrees within 20 minutes. And he said, okay, well, I'm just giving you a hard cutoff. I don't care if it's warm or not. By this time, I'm gonna have to fail. I said, all right, brother. But I say all that to say, this is the 3rd time we've been there. This is the 3rd different health inspector we've had. And unfortunately, we live in a country where they do not value the employees. So while you are here dispersing venom towards two people that have been nothing but gracious to you, your job may not be secure in a few months. And I don't wish that on anyone, but sometimes you just have to be a human. Now, if I'm asking you to do something that will jeopardize you providing for your family, absolutely, I stand with you. But the fact is, nobody else is there. You want us to reschedule an appointment for another 2 weeks, pay again because of something that we have no control over. So it worked out because the fire marshal was much more accommodating. We passed everything with the health. We passed everything with the fire. We just need to get a sticker and that'll be resolved. So glad we made it through that.
Yeah, but the kick is this. After all of that, they wanted our food truck to be in a commercial. Because our food...
I forgot about that. I forgot about it, right.
Yeah, because our food truck, it looks... We have a nice food truck. It
looks just like this beautiful lady.
It's all the bells and whistles. So compared to all the food trucks that was out there, ours, was the best.
You wanted us to be in an infomercial for the health department, even though you were attempting to fail us over warming water. Like, it got to make sense.
You can't make this stuff up.
It got to make sense. So, final thought this week, if you are in a position to give someone grace for something that will not impact you adversely, show these people grace. You might be the one reason why somebody smiles today, to keep somebody going forward, to give them another day of hope. Do what you can, but kindness is free. So until next time, keep dreaming, because when you stop dreaming, you stop growing.
Be safe, be blessed, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.